I'm doing this screencast to help myself to remember how I did my firmware update for my Behringer X32 mixer. I'm trying to share this a little bit so to remind myself how I did mine, and hopefully a few tips and pointers of helping other people to do theirs. Now, first thing is I go to the Behringer website X32 page. You can see in the top right here. Now I click the Downloads tab. There are two different firmware versions when I choose to do my update, 1.08, 1.09. There are two different preferences. It's not right or wrong, it's how people prefer to do it. Some people believe that the 1.08, not the latest and greatest, actually is more stable. They feel that the longer people use a certain firmware version, at least there are known things that people can figure out through forums, and there are known bugs. It's well documented, well understood. There's the other side of the world that believes the latest and greatest is always the best. They're not too worried if the latest firmware will break anything. They have more faith in the manufacturer. So it all depends on your personal preference which one you pick. In my case, I just choose 1.09 because it's only 1 month difference when they release the later one. So I'm pretty confident that 1.09 is just about the same as 1.08. So I do read the release notes. Just a few things of notice. They will help me out. Release notes is to remember what to do and to take a note of a few things that Behringer may be telling me to be aware of. So first thing I notice is that USB flash drive has to be FAT formatted. Okay. The other thing is plug the USB drive into the top USB connector while the console is switched off. I really think they should highlight the off here, bold. That will help out. Also tells me generally how long that will take, and if it's actually 2 to 3 minutes longer than the regular boot sequence. So if I see 10 minutes, the board is not coming back up, I may start to have to worry a little bit. A few things is usually they bold a few things here in case some things go wrong or not the way you expect it to. So they tell you a few things here in case you need to take a look and resolve those issues. You continue to scroll, it will give you a change log of the firmware. If there's a specific fix you're looking for, fixes are usually improvements. New features are usually things people suggest what they should do. Or they're internally trying to add a few things as they go along. So usually if there's something that is particularly bugging you, a particular issue you're hoping they fix or you keep asking them to, you can check this out, see if that's fixed on this issue. So it actually shows you the whole history of how they developed their firmware here and the bug fixes and the improvements they did. Looks like they did a lot of different things in August and September, a little bit longer duration now, 1 month before another release is changed, a little bit early in October. I guess this is probably a step that will be repeated a few times to do the firmware updates. It seems like they're still doing more features and updates as we go along here. So go back. Now go back to the downloads page. Click download now. What it will do is download a zip file. I already did that, so save a little time. I'm just going to open it right out. So it comes to me downloaded as a zip file. If I double click in Windows, it will open up the files, 2 of them here. This is the update file. This is the release notes. The release notes is basically a text file that's exactly the same as the PDF shown in terms of how to do the updates and the notes. Now the way I did mine is copy it to a clean USB drive. What I mean by clean is that basically what I did is before I copy the files, I actually opened this, right click and open this one, format this to FAT format. In my case only FAT32 is available and it goes by default. You can choose default allocation size, or in my case 4096, and it works for me. So click start. Before you do that, remember when you do it, you erase everything from your USB stick. So make sure you back up anything or remove anything to somewhere else so you don't lose your files. So I did that already. So I basically formatted my USB drive. Then I copied all the files over. So let's check out how I did my update on the Behringer board. So let's start up the Behringer X32. So what we're going to do here is, first thing, you make sure when you get the board, it actually starts up properly. For mine, when it starts up, it goes to the home, default to home screen. You see the green button all the way. Basically that, the top corner right here. Now, so for a firmware update, what I usually do, I would personally do, is actually check what version my board currently is on. So in case if I have any kind of problems, at least I can start by telling the Behringer people what firmware version I have before. So let's try to find that. What you do is press setup. Right there. When you're going to set up, you see right now mine is set on the tab config. But sometimes it's not directly set there, it could be set on any tab. Now, how do you go from one tab to the other? Go to page select, left, right. So I'm going to show you how to do that right now. So go back to config right here. Now in config, what I want to do is just find out what firmware version. Let me zoom in a little bit here. Now the firmware version, the corner, is basically on the most left-hand side of that screen, right here. So you can see mine is 1.0.5, and what you want to do is, before you go to initialize or anything, just you can check that. Make sure you see what's on there. Now the next thing you want to do, according to the Behringer instruction, is to turn off the machine, which I'm going to do in a quick second here, and then boot it up. So I'm going to turn it off and then show that it's going to boot up with the USB drive. So what I'm going to do right now is turn it right up. USB plugged in. Let's see what happens. So you see on the screen here, I'm going to zoom in a little bit, it's just going to do some updates here. Zoom in a little bit more and see if we can see what's going on. It's hard to see over that capture of the monitor, but that's what it's doing. It's doing some firmware updates right here. So it's showing me right now it's opening opening the firmware update. You see the load line is continually moving towards the right of the screen. Flashes. Loading up the new firmware. There we go. So basically, that took me almost less than 30 seconds to do. Very efficient. Let's check the firmware version again, make sure it's actually updated. Now let's go to setup. And zoom back a little bit just to show. Okay, there we go. So I press setup. We are right now in the global tab. I'm going to press page left. Okay, now let's see. Now right now the firmware is updated. So what I'm actually going to see, I'm going to zoom right in here a little bit. So you can see that's about what we can do is actually updated to 1.0.8. So that's how I did the Behringer X32 update. Hopefully that helps to give some instruction how to do that.